Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 150. And I thought this episode was going to include us deploying the robot, but it turns out that that is not going to be the case, unfortunately. So, if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I am exploring. I am currently, let's see, 7,484 blocks away from 00. Not sure how far that is from the base exactly, but it is pretty far. And the reason for this is I was looking for the ocean, and I've pretty much given up on that now. So I thought that if I headed in this direction from the outpost, I would encounter the ocean, or an ocean, and from there we would deploy the robot to build the foundations for our bridge. Now, unfortunately, ow, stupid thorns, it turns out that there wasn't an ocean where I thought there was. What I found instead was a solid landmass, or fairly solid, that have led me all the way here. So I have yet to find a place to actually use the robot. Now, my current goal is to get to negative 8,000 blocks approximately. Because when I do, if I then turn left in this direction, which I believe would be south, I'm going to, and if I were to head in that direction, I would eventually run into the village where my new base is going to be. So the plan is, since it's pretty much guaranteed that there isn't going to be any ocean before I reach 8,000 blocks, to mark that place, well, not really mark it, but confirm that there is no ocean, then I'm going to head back home. I'm going to make a lot of tracks, and I'm going to have to extend the railway all the way out here. And I'm going to be showing you the map right now, which I will have updated. And I will show you where I am and where the village is. And I'm going to extend the railway all the way out here. Then I'm going to have it turn that way. And once it's turned that way, there is going to be an ocean in the way. I know that because on the map, as it is currently, before I've updated it, on this side of the landmass that has the village on it, there is an ocean. So there's going to be at least one bridge required. Ooh, that's a big snowy mountain. Where's that snow? Looks like snow. Probably snow. So yeah, so that's the current plan. Now, what we're going to do in this episode instead is replenish our fuel supplies. Because while I was riding along to the outpost on the existing railway, I saw a large oil well not far from the current bridge, the first bridge. So my plan is that we are going to harvest that. Oh, hello, floating snow cover. Let's see how far we've gotten. Almost there. And no ocean. Oh, well. There's a snowy hive there. But yeah, so Oh dear, there's some oil with a creeper stuck in it. So that's what we're going to do in this episode. Because I needed something to put up today. And then, after that, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time making more tracks and extending the railway. And we've reached our goal, and there's been no ocean. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer because I wanted to deploy the robot, but I guess that's how things go. Or, well, plans don't always go as you think they will. So yeah, I'm going to cut the video here and head back to base, and we're going to I'm going to do some preparation for extending the railway out to that oil well, because we are of course going to use a train to get the oil back to base, because it's conveniently or inconveniently located in the middle of the water and conveniently located nearby our bridge. So, I will see you in a second. So, here we are with the locomotive I came with, which I left here. We are now back at negative 1,700, about 1,000 blocks from the base, I think. Because this is how far I got before I completely ran out of tracks when I was looking for that ocean. As you can see, I prepared the train, had all the stuff. These slots were pretty much filled with tracks. So we had, and they stack up to 32. So, yeah, quite a lot of track, really. And I used it all. Let's check the fuel level in this. We need to grab a stack of charcoal from here. So I'm going to have this track loop around here somewhere, and I'm going to head back towards the base. Something like this will probably do, maybe. Maybe I'll continue down a little bit more, like say here, and then we'll do a vanilla switch like that should do. And I'm going to come back when I'm where that oil well is. So I will see you then. Alright, so we are just about to drive past where I think the oil well is. Should be just out at the edge of my view field. I saw it out there somewhere. Pretty sure it was about here. Or not that far from... ah, there it is. Not that far from the outpost. So the plan is going to be to make an offshoot in this direction, and encircle the oil well with a scaffold structure, and then put a pump up and such. Similarly to how I did to the one by my base. So, I'm going to back once I'm back at the base and done some preparation stuff. Maybe we'll actually use the robot to build the extension out to the oil well. Because otherwise I'm going to have to do it myself, and I'd rather not do that. That might actually be a good test. So, I'm going to prepare... what the... Okay. I have no idea what happened there. Okay, so the train has duplicated itself, and I was hit by it. Right. We'll be back in a little bit when I've dealt with this. And we are back, having dealt with the train incident and having done a bunch of preparation for the changed plans, and going up these very laggy stairs apparently, and it is raining. So here we have the fixed train. Turns out most of the carts got duplicated, and I also had to chase a locomotive down, which was fun. I've made a new pump because I couldn't find the old one. I might have lost it at some point. I have a vague memory of that happening. So unfortunate. I've collected some wooden platforms and wooden posts from the old oil scaffold, as well as the fluid loader and the tank cart that was there, as well as some of the tracks and a hopper. We're going to do it slightly differently this time. We are going to use a locomotive because of the distance, because the oil well is quite a bit away from the base, of course. So I'm going to have a locomotive with an anchor cart transport the oil back to here. It's going to use this track, obviously, so we're going to have to make some adjustments here to allow it to reach the oil. Oh great, I have hypothermia. The oil unloading point over here, because I don't want to move this. I think it will be easier to have a railway go over there and expand that platform to handle trains instead of a single cart. I think that will be good. I'm going to go downstairs and get myself a bucket of lava for heat, because getting hypothermia is annoying. I figured out that I get hypothermia when I go below 35 degrees Celsius. I almost took aim on this tank here because it was orange, but that is not lava, that is ethanol biofuel. So now my temperature will go up because I have a bucket of lava in my hot bar. Hot bar. And if I remove it from my... Oh, hello, Enderman. Dang it. If I remove it from my hot bar, my temperature is going to start going down again. Keep it there for a little bit longer. So now we are going to ride out to the oil well, And we're going to see about deploying the robot there. And start constructing the foundations for a bridge extension. Now, we're probably not going to finish this in this episode, given that we only have about 20 minutes or so left. Actually, more like 15 now, probably. So, what we're going to have to do is continue in the next episode. And I just realized I probably wanted to bring some scaffolds so I could make a way to get back up on the bridge, because I'm going to have to jump off of this but I have wood with me, so I think that is the oil source right there. So I can probably make some scaffolds out here. So here we are. I have been out here, as you can see, and I built a small starting foundation out of cobblestone. Let's remove that. So I think about here is where we want, and I just realized I left most of the stuff in the train, so I'm going to need those scaffolds. So let's grab a bunch of planks, and then if I recall correctly, I see 2 scaffolds is something like this. Going to need a few more of those, I think. Whoop. That should do. And then I'll probably put these here. So now I have a way to get up and down, which is nice. I'm going to want this. Now, because this is a smaller project, I'm not going to deploy the unloader or the nuclear reactor here. No, I'm not, because that feels like it would not be worth it for this short project, or a relatively small project. Let's do this. So this is going to be our cobblestone container, obviously. Then we are going to want the charger here, and we place it this way so the front faces us. The charging output will be here, and this is going to need power as well as a redstone signal to actually do any charging. So we are going to want to get a lever from here, put that on there, and we are also going to want the electric wrench so we can turn this CSU, I mean, in the correct direction, and it has some power. We're going to put that there, and now we're going to put down the robot, and we're going to face it in the way we want the foundations to be constructed in. Then we are going to want to fill this with cobblestone, like so. We have 12 stacks. There are some more in the train upstairs, in the cargo cart. So we have about 50% power. Now, if we turn this on, you can see some particles appear, and this is going to be charging. And I'm pretty sure that this will not use any power when the robot is fully charged. And since the robot is off, it won't be using any power right now. So that is full. And this is not decreasing. At least I don't know. It is not. So even if the charger is on, it doesn't use any power when there's nowhere to put it, which is good. Let's put that back. What we're going to want to do now is we're going to want this, and we're also going to want the experience upgrade. We're going to put the experience upgrade in the upgrade container, which is the slot right here, which we have because we have a container component in the robot, or had when we assembled it. We also have this slot here, which is because we have a disk drive. We're going to put the OpenOS installation disk in there so we can install OpenOS on the robot. We're going to turn it on. It is going to boot into OpenOS using the floppy disk, because there is no operating system on the brand new hard drive in the robot. This is very similar to a computer. We're then going to install OpenOS on the hard drive, so we don't need the floppy disk. So we're just going to to install, and then select the hard drive, which is 1, and then wait for it to finish installing. Then we are going to import the foundation building program, which I have open in Notepad++, and I'm just going to be lazy and copy and paste it into the native editor instead of doing any fancy importing through Pastebin or something like that. Because I don't have an internet card in the robot, of course, so I can't use Pastebin. Now we don't need this anymore. We can put that away. You can see the robot is kind of floating, and it will also have open up, and it's displaying this colored strip of light, which I happen to know that you can change the color of if you like. Now in home, we're going to do edit f.lua, which is going to be the file name and program name of this program. Then I'm going to select and copy all of the code that I showed in the previous episode, and I'm going to insert it into this file, which is a sight to see since it's not instant like it would be in normal operating system. So there we are. We need to save that. And actually, I'm going to edit that again, and I'm going to change the local pillar distance, or the pillar distance variable, set it to 9 to match the distance between the pillars in this bridge design, because we're going to want something similar here for now. mostly for consistency. So now we have saved that. We can quit that. And now if we run the program F, which will run the f.lua file, we should see the robot is going to turn around and grab as much cobblestone it can. Took all of it. And then it's going to set off and do the thing I programmed it to do. To get a boat. Actually, I'm going to turn on the night vision so we can see what it does. So you can see the oil well there, and you'll see that it goes down into a black ball. And you might think that that is abyssal stone, like these spheres you can see here. But it's not actually. This is oil we can see here. And the reason for that, at least I think, is that Railcraft generated this oil well, and then Biomes of Plenty generated a large or deep ocean here and cut off the oil well. Or actually, probably it was the reverse. Biomes of Plenty generated a deep ocean here, and then Railcraft generated an oil well at its default height, and it ended up poking up through the bottom of the ocean. Now we can see what the robot is doing. It's constructing a foundation out of cobblestone. Though it seems it has landed on top of some seaweed, which is unfortunate, but oh well, doesn't really matter. So what should happen is once it reaches the surface, it should move ahead another... I should remove this before I get heat stroke. It should move ahead another 9 blocks and then do the same thing. Now unfortunately, because we wanted to stop over by the oil well over here, we're going to have to intercept the robot and, or rather I'm going to have to intercept the robot and turn it off, because it's not going to stop when it hits the oil, because it doesn't, as you can see, it can go through fluid blocks. You can move into fluid blocks without considering them an obstacle. So what would happen is it would simply continue going through the oil and then build foundations behind it, which we don't want. Can't really see what's going on from here. There it is. And if we grab our scholar's backpack, I should have a tape measure in here. Once this pillar is done, we should be able to measure the distance between them. Right. Let's do that. Get us some free night vision. So I'm going to put that there, and the robot should reach the surface shortly. And rendering makes it so you can kind of see the robot through the water, which is a little weird, but whatever. Let's see. Plenty of power left. We're probably going to need to provide it with more cobblestone. So it's 10 meters from that pillar to this one, which means that there's 8 blocks. Minus the 2 pillars, there will be 8 blocks in between them. And the way the variable works is when it's here, it's going to start counting from here. So it's going to move out here, and that is 1. And then when it's moved, the number of blocks that is in the variable, which would be 9, is going to start building the next pillar. So there will be 8 blocks between each pillar, which should match what I built with this bridge here. Now this bridge here is only going to be a single track, of course, because we are only going to have one train going to the oil well. It should be absolutely fine. Now, unfortunately, we are approaching the end of this episode, and watching the robot work is probably not super interesting anyway. So I'm going to let it finish off camera, and of course stop it before it goes through the oil there. And then probably in the next episode you can see where it went down there, because there's flowing water, because I have finite water, of course. But yeah, in the next episode we're probably going to have to figure out building a platform over this oil source, and then setting up the logistics required for loading a train with oil, and sending it back home. We're going to have to add a switch thing here. I'll probably also build the bridge off camera, because that part is fairly boring as well. And we're going to put in, like I said, a switch here with a routing switch motor, and then use a ticket to designate a train to oil transporting duty. And yeah, so that is the plan, and I'm going to see you in the next episode for the continued execution of said plan. So yeah, I will see you then.